Yo, 2014 INFINITI QX70 V6 3.7 liter. The car's getting a little old, so the victim wants a tune-up. Air filters look nice. There are two different ones, but they both look pretty new, so I won't be doing those. Looks like I got 5-10 millimeters on this cover. Now I'm going to want to remove these air horns. There's a 10 millimeter here holding this one on. 8 millimeter or a regular screwdriver on these hose clamps. I got some pinch clamps here I can squeeze. One on each side. Loosen these up. And these air horns can come off. Ooh, I found a feather. Somebody killed a bird. Now these throttle bodies need to come off to get at the center and the rear spark plug. And there's coolant lines in here. These are for coolant, so you don't want to unplug these or you'll get coolant all over the place. So I'm going to leave those on, and I'm just going to take off these 4 bolts. There's a tab you can push in right here. Pull this connector off. Then I got 5 millimeter Allens here. There's 4 of them. Get that out of the way. Now I have a lot of room to get at these coils. There's a gasket here too. A lot of people might tell you you need to replace it. It looks really nice though. It's sticking out past the plastic. So I'm going to reuse these. Rarely do I ever replace those. And I can just do these coils one at a time. And there's a tab you push in here and you can pull back on the connector. 10 millimeter here. And I can pull this coil out. I have a 9/16 or a 14 millimeter spark plug socket. This one's got a little magnet in it. This is the original plug, FXE24HR11 Denso Iridium. So I'm going to take this to the parts store and I'm going to get the exact same ones. I got the right spark plugs for this. They're 3457s. They're not cheap either. These always come with a protective cap because these are all pre-gapped. You never want to check, you never want to touch the gap on these. Don't go checking them and bending them because you can break those electrode tips really easy. They're not supposed to be touched. And I got a little anti-seize I can put on here. Don't need much. You always want to put these in by hand too. Don't go reefing them in with a ratchet or anything. And with the torque on these, you want to zero them. These got crush rings on them. So you want to just make sure they're 0 and then turn them a half a turn or 18 to 21 foot-pounds. I'll use a torque wrench on this. You know you got it right when you can feel them rings crush. You'll feel the crush rings crush. And then just as soon as they stop crushing down, stop. That's all the tighter they need to be. Put the coil back in, plug it in. These don't need to be very tight either. If you want to use a torque wrench, I'd say about 80 inch-pounds, which is about 7 foot-pounds. Right around there is going to be just fine for these. And just do the same to all the other 6. That wire's a little tricky, so I pull the coil up a little bit first so I can unplug it. Now this throttle body's kind of filthed up with carbon. A lot of times you get idling and cruise problems when that gets all gummed up. I just got some brake cleaner here. I'm just going to wipe this down until it's nice and clean. Try not to smash my fingers. You always want to leave the key off when you do this. If you turn the key on with this throttle open, this motor will want to close shut. And if your finger's in here, it'll probably break your finger. It's really strong. There's throttle body cleaner you can buy for this too, but I use brake cleaner for just about everything. That's nice and clean now. Make sure this gasket's nice and clean. I can put this back on. I'm just going to snug these down in a circle. Kind of zero them out. Then I can final torque them to about 100 inch-pounds. So it's like, I don't know, 8.4 foot-pounds. If you don't have a torque wrench and you do this by hand, I would like hold a ratchet like about like that, so you don't over torque anything. That way you're using a very low amount of leverage. Very low torque on these band clamps too. If you see these hose clamps start to go sideways, you're over torquing them. Now I just need to do the same to the other side. Looks like this coil has a PCV hose in my way. There's a pinch clamp on that. The good book says these plugs should be tightened to 0 then a half a turn, but every time I use a torque wrench, it's a little bit more than that. Dummy me forgot to put the coil back in. That might be important. And then dummy me dropped my socket. Looks like I'm gonna have to go fishing. Okay, my fishing trip's over. I found my socket. All these little 10mm bolts get tightened to about 7 foot-pounds, which is about 84 inch-pounds. Now before I put that top cover on, I'm going to want to make sure this thing runs right. Sounds fairly regular to me. These cover bolts need to be not very tight at all. And it's a job. Okay, bye.